Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night with your heart racing for no apparent reason? Have you ever felt that tightness in your chest, that sensation that something terrible is about to happen, but you don't know what? Most people call this anxiety, as if it were just nervousness, as if it were just worry. But what if I told you that anxiety isn't a passing feeling? What if I told you that it's a predator, silent, patient, living inside your own mind? Today, we're going to descend into the abyss of anxiety. We're going to look this monster in the face. And I warn you, what you're about to discover may be disturbing, but it's the only way for you to stop being devoured alive. Because in the end, the question isn't, why do I have anxiety? The question is, why do I keep feeding this monster without realizing it? Let's start by destroying the most dangerous lie about anxiety. They sold you the idea that anxiety is a normal reaction to stress, that it's just the body preparing for danger, that everyone feels it. And yes, everyone feels it. But here's the problem. The anxiety that paralyzes you at 3 a.m, the anxiety that stops you from making decisions, the anxiety that makes you avoid people, places, life itself. That's not a normal reaction. That's your mind turning into a predator. Think about it. A predator in nature waits for the right moment. It observes, it studies the prey's patterns, and when the prey is vulnerable, it attacks. Anxiety does exactly this. It watches you. It learns your weaknesses. And when you're most vulnerable, alone, tired, in silence, it devours you. And the worst part? You taught it to do this yourself. Every time you ran from discomfort, anxiety learned. Every time you avoided a difficult conversation, it grew. Every time you chose distraction instead of confrontation, you fed the monster. Now it's too big to be ignored. But why is anxiety so silent and at the same time so destructive? Carl Jung, the psychologist who mapped the depths of the human psyche, had a disturbing answer to this. He said that inside each of us exists a shadow, a repressed, denied, hidden part. And this shadow doesn't disappear just because you pretend it doesn't exist. It manifests as anxiety, as unexplainable anger, as self-sabotage. Jung discovered something terrifying. The more you ignore your inner darkness, the more it controls you. And anxiety? Anxiety is your shadow's scream trying to be heard. Think about the things you repress. The fear of not being good enough. The anger you never expressed. The sadness you buried because men don't cry or be strong. The desires you suppressed because they're not acceptable. None of this disappears. It becomes unprocessed psychic energy. And this energy, it corrodes you from the inside. It becomes insomnia. It becomes obsessive thinking. It becomes panic. Anxiety is the price you pay for not looking at your own shadow. But there's another side to this. Søren Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher, called anxiety the dizziness of freedom. He said that anxiety doesn't come from external danger. It comes from infinite possibility, from the fact that you're free to choose, and this freedom is terrifying. Because freedom means responsibility. It means you can no longer blame others. You can no longer hide behind excuses. You can no longer pretend your life is controlled by external forces. And this weight of absolute choice, it's unbearable. So what does the mind do? It creates anxiety as an escape, as an excuse. I can't do this because I'm anxious. I can't change because I'm afraid. Anxiety becomes a comfortable prison, because while you're paralyzed by it, you don't have to face the brutal truth that you are free and responsible for your own life. And here comes Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher of suffering. Schopenhauer said that human life is driven by a blind and insatiable will. We always want more. We always feel something is missing, and when we get what we want, the satisfaction lasts seconds, and anxiety returns, because the will never rests. He called this the eternal oscillation between desire and boredom. You desire something, you're anxious until you get it. You get it, you become bored. And the cycle begins again. But what if I told you that you don't have to live in this cycle? What if I told you there's a way to break this pattern, but it requires something most people will never do? The answer isn't in eliminating anxiety, because you can't kill something that's part of you. The answer is in integrating it. And this starts with an uncomfortable truth that no one wants to hear. You need to stop running. Think about how many times you grabbed your phone to not feel the void, filled your schedule to not be alone with your thoughts, used work, Netflix, alcohol, anything, to not face the silence. Because it's in silence that anxiety speaks loudest. Martin Heidegger, the German philosopher, said that most people live in inauthentic mode. They live on autopilot. They follow the herd. They do what everyone does without questioning. And this escape from authenticity, it generates existential anguish. Because deep down, you know you're living someone else's life. You know you're avoiding who you really are. And anxiety, it's the alarm. It's your psyche screaming, "Wake up, you're dying inside." So here's what you need to do, and it won't be easy. 1. Sit with the anxiety. Don't run, don't distract. When it comes, stop, breathe, and ask, what are you trying to tell me? Maybe it's saying you're in the wrong job. Maybe it's saying that relationship is killing you. Maybe it's saying you've repressed so much that your psyche is imploding. 2. Look at your shadow. Take a piece of paper and write the things you most deny about yourself. I have anger. I have envy. I feel like a failure. I'm afraid of not being loved. Don't judge, just acknowledge. Because Jung was right. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. 3. Choose with awareness. Kierkegaard said that freedom is a vertigo, but it's also the only way out. You need to stop waiting for anxiety to go away before you act. You need to act despite it. Choose conscious discomfort instead of unconscious comfort. Because anxiety will never completely disappear, but it can transform. It can stop being a monster and become a guide. Now the final truth, the one no one wants to accept. Anxiety isn't the problem. You running from it is. Nietzsche, the philosopher of the abyss, said something few people understand. He who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster. And when you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. Most people interpret this as a warning, but it's not. It's an invitation. Because when you look into the abyss of your own psyche, when you descend into the hell of anxiety, of the shadow of fear, you discover something radical. You are greater than all of this. Anxiety only has power over you while you run from it. The moment you stop, breathe and say, "Okay, I see you, I feel you, but you don't control me anymore," everything changes. You don't need to defeat anxiety. You need to integrate it, because it's part of your humanity. Schopenhauer was right. Life is suffering. But he also said that conscious acceptance of suffering is the path to peace. You won't be happy all the time. You won't always be calm. You'll feel anxiety again, and again, and again. But the difference is that now, you know what it is. It's not an external monster. It's part of you trying to protect you, in a twisted, dysfunctional way, but trying. And when you understand this, when you stop fighting against yourself, anxiety loses its power, not because it disappeared, but because you stopped feeding it with escape, denial, and fear. So now the choice is yours. You can close this video and go back to distraction, go back to infinite scrolling, go back to escape, or you can do something radical. You can sit in silence today. You can look at your shadow. You can write what you feel without filter. You can choose, even with fear, to live authentically. Because life doesn't begin when anxiety goes away. Life begins when you stop waiting for it to go away to start living. Jung said that there is no light without shadow, no psychic wholeness without imperfection. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be healed. You just need to be honest with yourself. And when you do that, anxiety stops being a monster and becomes a teacher. Now go, take a deep breath, and look into the abyss, because it's looking at you, waiting for you to have the courage to look back.